Welcome to another Fireside Chat. Sorry we've missed a few days. We've been absolutely chockers trying to arrange time with so much going on, to do another recording, but here we are. Today we're going to be talking about the feminine and masculine and what it is to understand and sympathize and connect with others. Coming up in the next few Fireside Chats, we're going to be discussing chapters in my book, which I don't know why we didn't start with that, but time is now. So that's coming. So Linda, what
Awesome.
are you saying about your breakthrough?
Yeah, well, today yesterday I was sitting in my pyramid and I was sitting there for a while, and was at the same time I was also looking at a screen, and something came up that from the past, and it just made me feel such sadness sometimes for what we have to go through, the suffering and all that sort of thing as a planet. And I started crying, and then that cry just started into a really, really deep release. And it felt awesome, but it was such a deep cry, but that it just felt like it needed to come out, and it was pushing out. And today I've been feeling on top of the world. It's been awesome, really good. Felt like it was a big release.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a huge thing. Like
Mm.
this is the reason why beings that truly start seeing and feeling from heart don't judge. Is because there's always that remembrance that it is an exceptionally hard journey.
Mm.
And so knowing how hard it is, how could you judge someone, especially when you've gone through it and you've felt things or you've connected? And there's a lot of people that are empaths that can feel others. And sometimes it's easy to forget what it takes to work through and break through to discover more of your heart.
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel that anyone that's judging others or having high expectations of others either hasn't really gone through or processed the suffering and the challenges it takes to break through to new ground.
Yep.
It's absolutely key. So it is profound in many ways to discover and unravel and get in touch with certain things within and let things go. And that letting go enables a sense of freedom. And from there, we can support others that are looking to unravel and discover their heart,
Mm-hmm.
and that may get caught, or it can be hard sometimes.
Yep. Very.
Instead of putting pressure on it, I feel this is the absolute key thing: is if I put pressure on anyone to evolve, to grow, to expand, then I am making it harder. That expectation is putting pressure uh, that inhibits, potentially and usually inhibits, another person's growth. Because then if someone feels like they're not living up to my expectation, then shame can be and something that comes up, and then
Mm-hmm.
they may try and project or pretend that they work through certain things, or when in actual fact they on some level know they haven't, and then they can avoid that teaching or avoid that teacher in particular. So when we make strong connections, especially with those that we are seeking to gain insight from, or everyone has certain mentors or connections or friends or teachers that they look up to, and with any connection like that, and I know from experience myself, when you're around these people, you try your best and you
Mm-hmm.
try to express, and you're trying to, obviously you value them, but you seek their understanding and approval so much that you try your best, and that's okay. But we often put pressure on ourselves to live up to our projection of a teacher, of a teacher's or healer or mentors' expectations, and we tend to put that there because a true teacher, it might be uh, a little bit of calculated pressure to some degree, or support, depending on the person.
Mm.
But ultimately, people put enough pressure on themselves, and I just truly feel that everything that I'm about is to take pressure off and support
No, I was just thinking it can be detrimental. I think feeling that pressure. I think if you because I find that if I have no expectations, when something like that comes up, it feels amazing. But if I'm pressuring myself and trying to force it, it won't flow that easily. And
Exactly.
yeah, so it kind
Well,
of
well,
stalls it.
it does, and putting pressure on oneself, that's the mind, that's not heart. You won't get pressure
Mm,
from the heart. Pressure to open from the heart, but not to conform or to break through. There might, like, it's interesting because pressure from the heart is like, well, in my experience, a sense of yearning,
yeah,
like an ache of wanting something more. It's not a matter of come on, come on. It's like,
yeah,
it's like a you're trying to, you've clenched your hand for a very long time. You're trying to open it. It's a bit sore, but it's something you really want to do, as
Mhm,
opposed to straining it and wanting it to be closed and the resistance. So the mind putting pressure on it is like trying to go against the resistance
mm,
by adding more pressure.
yep,
Where the yearning from the heart is like a natural unraveling, like a flower sees the sun for the first time in a while. It can't help but open, and it's like the fear stops one from opening. And in the right environment, it's going to open of its own accord. So what we try and do, and what we're about, is facilitating that environment.
hmm,
So there's a natural yearning to open,
yep,
and that's the fear factor, and that can be scary. But as you know for yourself, we know that through experience that is the greatest yearning
hmm,
we'll experience.
for
So
sure.
it can be quite easily misunderstood, and I think especially for parents, when we want our children, we've spoken about this before, when we want our children to work through stuff, we put pressure on them. And I've always found that when you say to a child, or let them know that you can, work through it in your own time. I'm here, and you obviously understand, and you try to seek understanding of what they're going through,
Hmm.
but you don't put pressure on them to break through it, because anyone and everyone wants to break through stuff and work through things and alleviate pressure as soon as possible. That's natural.
Hmm.
Having the courage to take the necessary steps. I
Yeah,
mean,
and I think you also mentioned before with parents that sometimes parents will um, give the child the same technique that they have been using, which is often a technique that isn't working. But yet, because that's the only thing they know, that's what they're teaching the child. So why would you give them the tool that's not really working for you to them?
yeah. Well, the thing is, it's not actually a technique. It's just you just cover, and you get a shovel, and you cover it with
Mm,
bury it.
yeah,
Learning stuff isn't a technique anyway. It's more of a. I know you didn't mean to say it was a technique, but oh, it's for people to make the distinction between a process of coping and a
yeah,
technique, something more.
yeah, yeah.
So because we need to discover and unravel and find techniques to not just cope, but
Yeah.
to actually unravel and work through things. And at least, and that the technique even maybe just questioning the mind and saying, do I know that for sure? Do I know this for sure? Instead of going with emotions, well, yeah, because I feel it
Mm,
emotionally. Well, that's not enough.
yeah.
Let's just break it down and see. Let's look from a few different angles. Let's look at what the other person's going through. Let's look at how angry they are in general. Are they only angry at me? Are they angry at other people? Do they either certain tendencies or habits here, or so you're looking at a broader range. You're getting out of the first person analysis and seeing it from a distance, like an adult would,
Yeah.
for the circumstance, from a retrospective view of looking back and considering as many factors as possible. And the more you practice this, the more you can discover the many variances. And obviously, well, it's not so obvious, but suffering is about identifying and taking things personal.
Hmm.
And then you think it's only because of me, they just can't stand me, or there's an issue with me. It's like, no, there's not, because if they're not seeing you, then it's because of issues within themselves. And especially if we don't want to harm others and we just want to get along, if they don't see us and they judge us, that shows a lot of stuff there, a lot of projection and fear, for them to actually attack another person, a fear of being inferior. Because if you truly felt you're superior, if you're having issues, then you won't bother with the other person, because there's not a threat. But then if you see clearly and see that everyone has beauty within,
Yeah.
those that are suffering, then you also don't judge them and you offer support on some level. And in saying that doesn't mean you put up with crap from another person. You might say no and get away, but
Yeah.
potential is far greater for unraveling and supporting and understanding others and
Mhm.
not take things personal. And this is why it's been a pretty intense start, but that's why the basis of this and identifying with certain aspects. That's why I'm not
Mhm.
so big on creating as many entities as possible,
Yeah.
because anyone that knows and understands spirituality knows that the more you identify with, the more you suffer.
Yeah.
Because I'm more of this, less of that, and not this, and you're picking apart. It's like picking apart a dream. It's all one, and then go, I'm not this part of the dream, and that part of the dream, and I'm not this, and I don't um, I don't agree or identify with that aspect, only this aspect, and you
Mm.
might be more, and especially when it comes to feminine and masculine, like you are the combination of both those things. How can you say not one or more of one or more of the other? I'd rather
Yeah.
perfectly balance between both.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
my body is just the vehicle that harbors the potential within both the feminine and masculine.
Yep.
And I feel that's what to focus on and become as whole as possible. And not to say you're going to be perfectly balanced all the time, but you want to embrace the feminine and masculine as much as you possibly can. And
Mhm.
sometimes you'll feel more masculine, or other times you feel more feminine. And I feel the more you go into your heart, the more you feel more feminine. But
Mm.
doesn't mean that you're not masculine at the same time. You are whole. It's like
Yeah.
cutting half your body. You are, to do what you do, you need both sides,
Yeah.
and they are both as important as the other. And to work out the percentage, or to um, identify, and a lot of people that identify with one or the other reject on some level the feminine or the masculine aspect.
Mm.
And I feel that's always going to create problems,
That's
because
right.
you're rejecting. There's masculine energies and feminine energies, of course, and they are both absolutely crucial. It's part of
Yeah.
the experience, because
Yep.
ultimately we associate feminine and masculine with softness or drive, or breaking new ground, or competing or nurturing and all these things.
Mhm.
And ultimately, it's the association with those analogies, those meanings, for the softness within women or the drive within men, or not that women
Yep.
can't have both, of course, but
Mm.
it's neither. It's just a balance of energies in existence.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just because we label it as feminine and masculine doesn't mean it really is. It's just reflected in those vehicles in a
Mhm.
sense. But
Yep.
we're talking about universal, profound, amazing energies that are completely balanced, and it brings about the balance of existence. They are both essential in experiencing this existence.
Yep.
So I think that the entrapment in this physical realm. So without these names, or being classified as feminine or masculine, they are just whole and perfect and
Mm.
essential for our development. It's only when we identify and we say put them under masculine or feminine, that it becomes an issue. But
Mm.
I would rather have access to as many of the qualities, universal qualities and energies available
Mhm.
through this vehicle.
Yep.
And the potential for me to experience energies, divine energies, it doesn't matter whether I'm man or woman or anywhere in between. It doesn't matter at
That's
all.
right.
It's opening oneself. And the bigger this, the more I can expand this vehicle to harbor energy, the more I can handle and utilize.
Mhm.
So, the more I identify with, I'm not this, I'm more of this, less of that, then I'm just making a smaller box,
Mhm.
imaginary box, to harbor energies that you can pick and choose them to some degree. If you reject certain energies, doesn't mean it's not going to, it will cease from existence.
Mm.
Just means that you'll minimize your potential because you're resisting natural aspects within yourself.
Yep.
So taking all the, I'd rather just take all the names and identifications away from everything, and rather than focus on not this, not that, more of this, less of that. I'd rather just focus on the amazing uniqueness and potential within every being, and encourage everyone to develop that potential, because it is amazing how much everyone has something to offer, and to
Yeah.
discover that we have all similarities, but in healing, in how I see things, with visions or certain aspects of certain things I may see or feel, another person may do the same or more, or varying degrees, different things, but their experience will be different, and it's their expression of their experience. And then
Mhm.
even when you overlap, or we share, I might share my experience, describing it in different ways, the beauty of existence in different ways and different perspectives, that brings about a richness in life that is absolutely profound.
Yeah.
So it's not the identity or identifying, it's the experience in all areas as much as possible, and open the heart and get out of the head that picks and chooses. We don't want to, we have our preferences, and that's okay. And it's normal to have preferences, but it's
Mhm.
the attachment to preferences that causes suffering. That is it in a nutshell.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with preferences. It's the attachment that causes suffering. So there's certain meals that I prefer, but if I don't get that meal, or they run out of the product, or run out of the meal in a restaurant, going crazy, it's just insane. That's a volatile way to live. But to go, oh, yeah, no, I really enjoy that meal, but I'm going to try something different.
Mhm.
So it's natural to have preferences, but if everything rests on our preferences and our identifications, that is a very volatile way to live,
Yeah.
and I recommend that for anyone. So back to the support and your insight, because that's what spurred this conversation. I know we're going to talk about gratitude, but important, very important, to that understanding offers a softening in supporting others, and it's the awareness on when walls come down and how hard it is, and the appreciation and softening when you see certain things, or you're triggered, or and triggered maybe doesn't mean you're going to react. It's like a triggering softness or compassion or something else.
Mhm.
Now, that insight that you had is the necessary path forward to be able to offer understanding, to encourage others to grow, rather than pressure them to grow.
Yeah. I feel amazing today. I've been definitely feeling like very much in the heart today. Everything just feels like it's been radiating from my
Yes,
heart today. It's been awesome.
you feel very soft.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's lovely. I'm loving it.
definitely something's broken away. Like
Mm.
open, I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. No, when I
Of-
was crying, it wasn't like it's super teary, but it was just a heaving cry. I think I've had that once before, but this one was different. It felt intense and deep and
Yeah,
heaving, like it was really heaving forth and out.
yeah. It feels like a deep release to me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Something's definitely.
because yeah, I think I think it's been several people have told me that I would have a sadness in me. And I think a lot of it is to do with just seeing the constant suffering, you know, on the planet, and because I think I feel that I feel other people suffering a lot, and um, and
I,
this is what brought it on
yeah,
because I saw a picture of someone suffering, and I just felt like I've had enough of it. I just want to let it go, just need to let it go, and then it just evolved into this big release. It was awesome.
I feel, to me, it feels like it's linked also to being misunderstood, and therefore feeling alone.
Absolutely.
So, um, within, you've been you've stood out as thinking different, being different within family, and
Mm.
yeah, that's what I get hearing you say that. It's like, and I
Yeah.
feel a lot of people feel potentially misunderstood and alone, therefore,
Mm.
and that's what the way forward is, to offer understanding and
Yeah.
softness and patience, support. And I feel when we're told to think a certain way, or we're judged for not thinking how everyone else thinks, this is imperative today. Feel alone and unsupported, or like that's what's wrong with me, or what's wrong with the world, you know.
Yeah.
So once again, it all comes down to connection within, and that support in embracing all the energies. That connection goes deeper and deeper, so that aloneness tends to dissipate. I don't tend to feel alone. And
Mm.
I'm a real loner, you know me. I
Yeah.
feel like I can live in a cave almost, but but I understand what it feels like absolutely to feel unconnected and misunderstood, because that's how I've grown up as well. People just thought, you always thought different. You always knew there was something different about you,
Mm.
which is
It's interesting because I've always been never really phased me that greatly, but I guess it's one of those things that I kind of sweep aside, and it's a part of a self-defense, I guess, because it's always been that way. I've always been the black sheep and always been the odd
yeah.
one. No one really gets me or whatever. So it's one of those things I think I just do it naturally without even thinking about it.
Yeah, well, it's a conditioned response, and that's why I feel that
Mm.
that was the release, and then you have that more access to yourself. So it's it's conditioned. It's
Mm.
something you had to develop from a young age, and a lot of people,
Yeah.
obviously, people do from a young age. So, and then to be able to see or read something or see something that you can identify or have once identified with that feeling, that environment, or that, then yeah, it definitely allows us to release that pain.
Mm.
Because, and yeah, everything released, we become more connected. That's for sure.
Interesting.
Very profound. If there's a certain experiences, if you don't mind just saying, like, this is what I feel, this, I get a sense and putting it together, and that way
Mm.
people get a sense of the intuition and what we do more so, rather than just, it's just, we're not teaching theories, we're teaching a life experience and offering that.
Yeah. But it's good too because like things like that, you're saying it's not fitting in and not being heard and understood and all the rest of it. That's not something I would even think of because, like I said, it's just it comes naturally. Like I've been doing it for so many years. It's like, yeah, I don't really care if people, agree or not anymore. But I guess it's just something I didn't even think of that affects me.
Yeah. Because you're not looking in the past, you're not doing that. But when you said that, I went, oh, and that's, I feel that's something that broke away because it was ready to fall. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So that was just another chunk fell away of the seas,
Mm.
putting the land, which is all, it becomes more fluid.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting how, I mean, that's the second time I've had a really big heave ho kind of cry, and it's interesting how it's become a way for me to release
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
lately.
Because, and I feel that the key thing, this is the greater process. You can use the mind to, sow the fields, sow the soil. Sorry,
Mm.
um, for change. But then when you're reflecting and doing the work, and like subtly, there's reflection, and then by just focusing rather than digging up things all the time, just focusing on the proactive and the living from heart, and
Mm.
being sensitive. When things fall away, it's not force. It just breaks away. So it doesn't.
Mm.
It's like it doesn't serve you anymore.
Yeah.
Then something just falls, and it's like, oh. So then you don't necessarily sift through the rubble,
Mm.
because you just you get lost to some degree in the new you
Yeah.
feelings and the emotions, like, oh, that feels nice. You don't sift through it, and
Mm.
that's where I don't. And so you'll do that in others, but it's harder when it comes down to self, where I can go, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is what I trace, this is what I feel.
Mm.
Um, it's not really. And then let's say you speak with someone else, and that happens, then that rubble, if you don't sift through it now, not that it's even necessary, you'll be able to do
Mm.
that in the future.
Mm.
Because, and this is why what I've experienced is, remember I've said that we can all trace energies to varying
Yeah.
degrees. Then you
Mm.
trace it, you can feel where it links in, and each area you trace an energy to an experience, past
Yeah.
or the potential of an experience. It's all intermeshed. So then you can trace it without, and this is what another way for healing, you tracing or seeing the potential of change without projecting that change. The key thing in this too is not identifying with your experience in the sense, or like you're relating it, but you're not claiming anything in that.
Mm.
So therefore, the potential in understanding and reading a situation is enhanced, because you're
Mm.
in without judging a lot more elements
Mm.
than a projected idea based on what I can and can't accept within myself.
Yeah.
See how it's linked in?
Yeah.
It's profound. I might add
It's
this,
awesome.
but it's pretty deep. I'll see how I go, but
Mm.
it just gives insight more. So I'm thinking just rather than giving small snippets, I thought might as well just deep dive a bit and give people a bit
Yeah.
more on the
Yeah.
intuition.
No. Yeah. Exactly. And I think I like it. It's much better just going in the way it's naturally it goes.
Yeah, well, this has been our practice.
Because there's been a few times I'm thinking, how do I interject with gratitude? Because I could see that we were talking about all these masculine and feminine. I'm like, maybe I should bring in gratitude there somewhere, but it was going so well and it didn't really fit in anyway.
We have to go with the natural flow, and
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not worried about what we intend to talk about. It's
Yeah,
just
no.
it has to be real in the moment anyway.
But it's interesting you were saying as well that it no longer serves me. That's something I always ask for in the pyramid. I sort of ask the universe to please help me release that whichever no longer serves me.
And for when things break away, it tends to be when it hasn't been fed for a while. You know,
Mm,
you stop feeding certain attribute
yeah,
or conditioning or like a response or something for a couple of days, or then you forget, and things can sort of remain dormant to some
yeah,
degree within the
yeah,
body for years potentially.
yeah.
But when things really break away, it's like if something hasn't been fed, it doesn't survive. So when things do break away, it means you haven't fed it for a period.
That makes sense.
Hmm. So it sounds a bit yucky in a way, but it's like anything you don't feed
I,
it.
I'm kind of visualizing a wart or something that's on your
Yeah,
body,
yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah,
he sort of kind of just shrivels up and goes black, and then he falls off.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, in your head, I think that's something pretty similar to that. So, like almost
Mm,
like decaying or body or something on the body that doesn't serve, that sort of
yeah.
that doesn't get fed, doesn't get the oxygen it needs, and that's the thing.
Mm,
So to get the oxygen it needs, it's like you speaking to people with diarrhea. You're feeding something, and
mm,
it gives it some sort of life force. And if
mm,
it doesn't serve you, stop feeding it.
yeah,
But to do that, you have to have a sense of courage and a belief that it doesn't serve you, because
yeah.
often we feed things that don't serve us for a sense of attention or false value. So there is no faking it. You can hear the term "fake it till you make it." Nothing will
Mm,
break when you're faking it.
yeah, yeah.
And the saying goes, it doesn't matter who you lie to as long as you're honest with yourself. And if you're honest to
Mm,
yourself, that's when things actually fall away. And then,
yeah.
but it won't fall away until you start becoming more honest outwardly as well. So if
Mm,
you're thinking or being a certain way with others, but at home you're completely different,
yeah,
things won't really fall away. Uh,
yeah.
but because on some level you're believing that other people need to see a different you.
A facade. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
But if you're one good thing, if you're a certain way and you're true to yourself at home and you're not like that outside, you know,
Mm,
around others, you won't be able to maintain that, because you'll go, why? If it's truly, if you're a different way and you're looking to grow and understand and discover, unravel, then you will just lose interest in certain areas where you think, "Oh, what am I doing this for?" So the
mm,
more you spend, and this is why I think being on your own, and doesn't mean you have to be single or so, but reflecting and having time for yourself where you
yeah.
can just let your guard down and be
Mm,
yourself. It's
yeah.
important to have those times, because if you have to put on a coat and certain things to out in the world and you come back, in the end you just want to be how you are everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's being honest with yourself. It's not a projected way of yourself. It's more of just discovering, unraveling how you are. Somewhat like take your coat off, and how are you truly within your being. It's got nothing to
Mm,
do with feminine, masculine. It's got nothing to do with um, what you think you are, because you are a divine being. You're a spiritual being.
mm,
So it's about getting in touch with that aspect and
yeah.
accept, or
Mm.
you access to, rather than picking and choosing what you have access to. And the only reason you pick and choose what you have access to within yourself is if you don't actually understand or appreciate the potential in everything that you have access to, or your potential abilities. The only reason you discard anything is because you don't understand it.
Yeah.
So because the highest level of all attributes is profound.
Yeah.
When they're harmonized, they're working together.
Yeah.
The potential of what one can achieve is amazing.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so it's about getting in touch, and what we obviously encourage is getting in touch with that aspect. Pick and choose that which serves you, but the accumulation of energies and identification with certain, feminine and masculine and others is necessary, because it's the combination of everything is who we are.
That's right. Yep.
And the differences are beautiful and unique, but as I've mentioned, just reject those things that don't serve us. And by rejecting, I mean seeing through. Don't fall for the shallow aspects, the shallow interpretations of our understanding.
Yeah.
So reject that which creates suffering. If you're getting more and more angry, more and more frustrated, you'll find that you're identifying more and more with things in your life. I just feel we have to try and focus on becoming less identified. And I'm not talking about losing who you are or how you are. I truly feel that everyone has so much to offer. We're all unique, but the similarities, we all have beautiful hearts. And if you don't get in touch with that and compassion and understanding, then you suffer. That's just how it is. And I just feel, with all the suffering that's going on today, we shouldn't be looking for reasons and ways to trigger. And if you look at all the areas that we trigger, even with society, with governments, with whatever it is, and it's easily done today with the governments the way they are. If you look into the anger and frustration and arguments, everything's taken so personal. And I just feel it's worth considering that the more we personalize everything, you look at the way you live, and yeah, we have to learn to be less triggered. Talking about how to become resilient and understanding. If I identify with many things that trigger me, then I can't understand anyone. I can't offer insight or understanding or help for anyone. The only way through is to embrace the beauty within, be aware and know that you are the makeup of all the energies in existence, and don't push anything away, and embrace that which serves you. But just remember that is not all who you are. I'll just say one more thing.
Yep.
This chat was sort of unplanned. We're going to be talking about gratitude, but it ended up becoming a very intense talk about identifying with energies and certain things and the potential of that and pressure we put on others. So yeah, if it's pretty intense, if there's any questions, by all means, give us a shout out or ask some comments, give us some feedback. I feel it's important. Don't feel you need to get your head around everything we've discussed. I feel that if you just consider a few things, consider the possibilities that these things we're talking about create suffering. And if you start questioning your triggers, questioning certain things will start peeling open, layers will peel back. So I feel in all the chats we have, it can be intense at times. There's a lot that ties in. Don't put pressure on yourself in necessarily having to understand it all or put it all together. That's pretty hard. And the mind will struggle with that. The heart doesn't struggle with it ultimately. We talk about transcending into our hearts. So no pressure. Consider these topics and don't put pressure on yourself. Feel free to, as I mentioned at the start, feel free to share your thoughts, your ideas, comment if you feel. Share this, and we look forward to the next one. Take care, guys. Bye for now.